the text view, and that background will be there. Okay, so now our things are completed, and now we have to move up to this Java coding part. So first of all, we have to work on this data, and within this data, this assistant is a model class. So what does this model class will contain? So first of all, in Kotlin, it is known as data class instead of model class. So we have to give it as entity, as we are using the room database, and for that room database this whole data package is created. Like, we have assistant as the model class, and then we have assistant data access object, and then repo. Okay, so we have given the annotation entity, as we have defined the table name as assistant message table. Okay, so the first variable for this is assistant id, and it is of type long. And now this is the second variable, and this second variable is assistant message, and the message, as you already know, that the message is in the form of a string. Okay, so first of all, it should be default. Okay, so default underscore message, as you can see that. And now the third variable, human underscore message, it is also of type string, and now this will also contain the same, like default underscore and then message. Okay, so this class is created successfully, and let me give that annotations for each field, and making the assistant id as the primary key, and making the auto generation of the primary key true. And now these are the columns, so just column info and then name of the column. So this column name is assistant underscore message. Okay, and doing the same for this column. So column info, then name of the column. So name of the column is given as human underscore message. Okay, and now this class is completed. Don't worry about the errors, I will be correcting the errors. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. Now this data class is done. Let me see what these kind of error are there. Okay, it is showing that it is never used, and in the future part we are going to use them. Okay, so now I'm in the data access object class, and it is not a class, it is an interface actually. So within this interface we have to like give a annotation DAO, as these are as per the rule of room database provided by Google in their tutorial. Okay, I have also made videos on room database and MBBM pattern, you can check them on this channel. Okay, so now that insert, and this is for update. So these functions will be used for doing operations on the table that we have created within that assistant data class earlier. Okay, so these are three functions: insert, update and query, and this will be working on that test database. Okay, so now this is the query, and here we have to give the query in the form of SQL, like select from assistant message table where assistant id first that key. Okay, another query is there. So what query it is, like, let me see first of all what is left out. We have left out the function and given the another query. Don't worry about it, I'm just giving it like key of type long, and it should be returning assistant and then question mark for the null reference. Okay, so now I'm just making it to the capital. Select and then delete and then delete from, so we have to make this from also in capital. Okay, so now this delete from and this table name will appear automatically there, then you have to select it. Okay, so now function clear, and now this is the another query. This query is for select star from assistant message table and order by assistant ID. Okay, and it should be get by the calling the function get all messages. Okay, and it should be returning that live data of template list, and within that list you have to take that assistant. Okay, so this class is almost finished, but another query is there, and I think this is the last query. So select star from, and we have to give the space as assistant message table and order by assistant ID DESC. Okay, so and limiting it to 1. Okay, and now the function get current message, like the previous one is for getting all the messages. Now we have applied the limit, so getting one message. So getting one message means the current message. Okay, so this interface is finished, and now let me move to the different part of this package called data. But first of all, let me remove this extra space and get you the full view. Okay, so now let me come back to this assistant database, and within this database class we just have to initialize and build the room database, the structure that we have created within this model class, and that another class of where we have provided the full code for it. And now this is that class assistant database. Here we have to give the entities and taking them as in Java object. Okay, now we have to create a abstract variable of kind assistant DAO, and now afterwards this we have to create companion object, and this companion object will contain volatile and then private and again the variable instance. Okay, for getting the instance this variable will work. So instance returning instant database. Okay, and now the second one is that function, and function is getting that instance that we have initialized just right before. So getting that we have to trick that Shrikant. Okay, and now that thing like context and getting the instance, so you can see that, and getting that instance count. So getting that thing we have to make this synchronized, and for the synchronized we have to get that instance and get that current equals to instance equals to null. Then what will happen, like instance equals to room. Here we are going to build this database So database builder, then we have to pass the context here, context.application context, and then assistant database class, and afterwards you have to give that comma and name of this. The name is assistant only. Okay, so now let me just see what kind of error it is showing right now. So let me check first of all, but it is not yet completed. I have to add that fallback to destructive migration dot build. Now you can see that the error has been removed, and now instance equal to instance, and then afterwards you have to remove this extra space that I have removed, and here you have to add the return statement. So returning that thing here, and now remove this extra space, and again I have to scroll. So you can count this curly braces also if you are feeling difficulty, like will it be debuggable or not, but this app will be show you in run condition, okay, while making from the scratch, so that you can run it on your device also. So here you can see that we have given all that things that are required for building the database for room. Okay, so one error is there, type mismatch is required room database, and here it is showing assistant. So let me go to this assistant firstly and see what does the problem with this data class. Okay, so let me analyze it, that's why I will be able to correct it. Okay, so this is assistant class, sorry, data class. Okay, so what does this do? Let me check here, assistant database, then assistant data access object. Okay, so now within this I have to see, like first of all I will see some, when you have an error in Android, you have this red bulb, and this can make you, very helpful. Like we are forgot to add the extend, we have to extend it by, or give its parent class like room database. So this colons are for extending. In Java we write extend, and in Kotlin we just put this colon here. So this is almost error free. And now let me move to this assistant adapter, as we are using the recycler view, so we have to add this adapter also.
So what to do with this assistant adapter class? It's related to that recycler view that I have already talked about, and right now we have to extend it by the recycler view. So this colon and then recycler view. Okay, then dot adapter and then assistant adapter dot view holder. Okay, so view holder that we have to create the inner class right here. So just click on that red bulb and create a class. Okay, within this assistant adapter, or you can choose to extract to the separate file also. Okay, so now let me first work on this view holder class. So we have to also extend it by the recycler view, but somehow we have to pass the item view within it, and it is of type view, and then we have to extend it by recycler view, then view holder, and furthermore it is item view. Okay, so why we have given that item view within the parenthesis in the uppert? Because this is the format of Kotlin, that if you want to uh, pass out that item view, then you can pass out within that class also. Where you declare the class, you can do that thing there. Okay, now I'm making the assistant message, that is the text view, and just mapping it with that of XML file, and it is r.id.assistant underscore message. Okay, now doing the same for the human message here, and human message text view, then item view dot find view by rd, and then r.id dot human message. Okay, so now moving to this main class called assistant adapter, and within this class what we have to do is to implement some methods. So let me uh, get that red bulb, and then I will be getting that thing to implement methods that are required for a recycler view, just like get item count and all that. So click on that red bulb and select all, and then okay. So here you can see that we have implemented all the methods here. Now we just have to write these things. So first of all, the smallest method that you can do with that lambda functions also, you just have to write within one line. Okay, so equals to data, and then making object of type data, and then here list of what it is, of list of assistant, that is the model class. Okay, so as we have returned its size within that item count, so we have to declare it firstly. Now we are setting the value, then field equals to value, and then we will be notifying the data set change. Okay, so this is the set method that we particularly give, and then finally return that size of the data. Okay, it is a kind of array that you can get from Java if you are not familiar to Kotlin. Then making item, and then data position, and getting it to that holder dot assistant message, then set text equals to item dot assign message. So this is how we set the text view within this Kotlin, and this is really easy. And now I'm within this create view holder, and what I have to do within this method, I'm just creating item, and then data, sorry, I write it mistakenly here. So here we have to give the layout inflator. Okay, and then we are finally going to inflate that recycler view with that that XML file that we have made out, that item layout. Okay, so first of all, getting with the context, and then view equals to, and now layout inflator dot inflate, and within here you have to give that layout r dot layout dot, that is item layout that I have talked. Okay, and now attach to root false, and then finally constraint layout. Okay, and afterwards what we have to do is to come within this line, and then finally returning that view holder, and pass that view within it. Okay, so almost done with it. Now this is showing as error, don't know why. So yeah, I have mistakenly placed this, so just remove this. Okay, Now you can see that this class is error free. There is no error, everything is perfectly fine, and if there any error occurs, then I will be correcting it. Okay, so watch the video series fully, then you will be able to implement this app. Okay, and this is really a good project if you are doing it for the purpose of project or want to publish it, by getting its XML beautified, then this must be also available for publishing. And now I'm making the data source as I'm in this view model factory. And what I have to do within this view model factory, there's data source, and it is of assistant DAO. So we have to implement the methods of that interface here. And now variable application, and finally that view model. Finally doing that view model, we have to give that view model factory, it's view model provider actually. And now here we have to give the factory. Okay, so as we have implementing this with the help of data binding that we are using, so we have to give this thing also. Now I'm suppressing the unchecked exceptions and unchecked cast. Okay, and here we have to give this method called create method. Okay, and we are checking if model class is assignable from. Here we have to give that assistant view model. Okay, and if the model class is assignable to this, then what we have to do within this if condition is to just return that assistant view model, and we have to pass the data source. Okay, so and application context also as thread. Okay, T, and then we will be throwing that illegal argument exception here, as you can see that, and will known that unknown view model class. If there is any exception occurs, then this illegal argument will be thrown up. Okay, but it is showing one error as we have mistaken somewhere. No, because we haven't implemented this assistant view model class yet. So this is the time to implement this assistant view model. What we will be doing with this assistant view model is to first make that database, and then when this database is of type assistant DAO, that is data access object. Okay, and then you have to put comma, and then the same thing application, such that application. And now, so this is the assistant view model, so you have to keep in within this square, normal parenthesis. Okay, and now Android view model application, pass it with that view model. Okay, so now what we are going to do is to making the view model, and then view mod job. Okay, so as we are using that threading also, so assigning the job and on clearing this runnable kind of thing, that we have to do it here also. So view mod job dot cancel, we have to handle all these things. Okay, so now few methods more that we are going to do here, and it is UI scope equals to coroutines scope, and then pass this dispatchers within it and main. Okay, now press alt enter to import that job, and then surplus view mod job. Okay, so one thing more, that is of type var, and it is that current message. Okay, as we have to work within that mutable live data also, as I have already talked about, that we are using the data binding here. That's why we have to use this mutable live data also. And now that message, the current message and all that messages dot get all messages. Okay, now we have to initiate something, and within this initiation we will be just doing this initialize, and let me see, it is initialize, then current, and then message. Okay, so this is a method that we have to customarily implement. So we have implemented it, and now I'm within this body, and then UI scope. UI is for user interface scope. Then we will be launching the current message, and dot value equals to current get current message. Okay, this will also be a method, get current message from database, as we are storing the messages or the commands in room database. That's why within this view model we are working on each message. Okay, as each message or command will be a one thing, like if you have asked what is the weather, then this will stored in the database and you will get the answer of this question. And furthermore, if you want to ask more, then these messages or command will store in the room database. That's why within this and assistant view model we are getting each message and working on that particularly. Okay, so now message and then assistant message equals to default. So first of all we are taking it as default message, then or like message dot human message. I am repeating again, message refers for the command that you will be giving to the assistant. Okay, so default message, and then message equals to null. Okay, and if it is default message, then null, and passing it with this context. Okay, so finally this class is yet about to complete, but we have to give some methods more, like send message to database. Okay, so it will be taking up that parameter assistant message of type string and human message that is of also like string. Okay, now UI scope dot launch. So what is this UI scope dot launch? Actually, in Kotlin there are a part called coroutines. Okay, so if you have done with that Java, then you can get the thing like coroutines are well suited for implementing familiar program components such as cooperative tasks, exceptions, events, iterators, and loops. Okay, so these are for multitasking. Like we have uh, Rx Java, that is for different purpose, but coroutines were added to Kotlin in I think 1.3 version. Okay, and by the help of Kotlins we have by the help of coroutines we can do that asynchronous task also. Okay, so now this is the insert method. As we are working on storing the message or the command into the database, so that's why we are using here insert. So this method will be give that opportunity to store that message within this database. Okay, first of all remove this import, as we have wrongly imported this library. So now let me see what does this method get with context, and pass dispatchers dot io and then database dot insert message. Okay, so what will these things do? Actually you are giving the command to the app, okay, in the runtime, but what does that app do? Actually that app stored that thing within that room database while you were giving that second command, or you are listening to the answer. So that app is doing multitasking. So to handle the multitasking in Java there is threading, and in Kotlin there is a simpler thing called coroutines. Okay, so we are using coroutines here. You can read about the Kotlin coroutines on the internet also. And now database dot update, like you have already listened about that crude create, remove and update kind of thing within that database. So I think I was wrong at somewhere. It is create, read, update and delete crude operation for database. Okay, so now another method. Let me see what does uh, this method is, I think on clear. So function on clear, and what does this do? Dot launch, and within this you have to call clear, and then current message dot value equals to null. Okay, so clearing that part. And now the another method spent fun, and it is clear method, that was on clear and this is clear. So with context and dispatchers dot io. Okay, so we are in the coroutines, and then database dot clear. Okay, so now let me remove this extra space. First of all, there is one error. Let me see why this error occurs here. And here it is saying that so let me click on that red bulb. Actually red bulbs helps a lot while debugging, and it is quite common to get errors. So make, okay, we have forgot it to mention suspend with